Evening Fix It fans. Now tonight I'm back with part 3 of the project's wanted list, which is a list of amplifiers and receivers that I want to buy so I can fix and repair them on the channel. And also everything on this list is stuff that I think is really good, so it is stuff that I want for myself to put in my hi-fi collection. So let me get my book and let's crack on with the project's wanted list part 3. Right, so the last one I did in the last video was a Pioneer SX440. So next up we have got, oh, and it's a good one this, it's a Sansui AU217. Now this one's from 1978 and is 40 watts per channel. Now I've never repaired one of these Sansuis, but it is a 1970s Sansui, so it can't be that hard to repair one of these. They do also make a 317, which is a bit more powerful, and that one has got the pre-out main-in coupler, so you can use it as a preamp or a power amp. But that one seems to make a lot more money than this 217, so that is why I've gone for the 217. But if a 317 comes up not working at the right price, then I would buy a 317. In fact, I'd love to buy a 317, but really I'm looking at the 217. Because I do think there's a lot more 217s out there. You see them for sale all the time. But that 317, you really don't see it for sale much. And both of them are really decent sounding little amplifiers. They really are. They are clean as anything. They do not sound like most vintage Sansui stuff, because most vintage Sansui stuff does emphasise the bass a little bit, but these don't do that. These are just neutral and really clean sounding, so they haven't really got that vintage sound. If you was blindfolded and listening to one of these, you would think you was listening to something more modern, and you would think you was listening to something really high end. And the other thing I would say about this one is it is one that ups its game depending on the quality of your speakers. And what I sort of mean by that is some amplifiers and receivers, if you put a really high-end, fantastic set of speakers on them, they're a little bit wasted, because they don't sound no better than if you've just got a decent set of speakers on them. But this one is not like that. The better your speaker, the better this one will sound. So next up, we've got a right quality little receiver, and I do think this is a bit of a sleeper. This one is underrated because it is quite a bargain, this one. What you get for your money really is good bang for your buck, and it is a Harman Kardon HK340. Now this one is 20 watts per channel and it's from 1979. And you know what, I'm thinking about this now. I'd really like to put this Harman Kardon up against that Sansui that I just done a minute ago, because I do think this Harman Kardon has got a similar sound to that Sansui, and I do think this Harman Kardon is good enough to take on that Sansui. I really do. This little Harman Kardon really has got a clean and neutral sound to it, and you get this little 340 on a quality set of speakers, it really can sing like a canary, this little one. So I would like to put this up against that Sansui, because I do think this Harman Kardon could take it on. And when you think this Harman Kardon is a lot cheaper than that Sansui, that Sansui commands a fairly high price, but this Harman Kardon doesn't. It does in the buy it now. In the buy it now, people want a ridiculous amount of money for this little Harman Kardon. But in the real world, in the auction prices, this little Harman Kardon doesn't make that much money. And I'm not saying this one would take the Sansui on in party mode, because that Sansui is double the power. This one is only 20 watts per channel, so if you want to party, the Sansui will outdo this one all day long. But I'm saying in that detailed listening test that you see me do, little set of speakers on my table, nice listening at normal volumes, I do think this Harman Kardon in that situation would give the Sansui a good run for its money. So again, I have never repaired one of these little Harman Kardons. I've never had one open, but I have serviced some of the bigger ones. So this little one, it is a Harman Kardon from the 70s, so I would say one of these will be quite easy to repair. So next up, I'm jumping forward to the 90s. And if you're looking to have a party, forget about them other two. This is the one you want for a party, because this thing is a bit of a beast. And it is the Nakamichi Receiver 2. Now this one's from 1991 and it is 55 watts per channel, but one of these seems more powerful than that. One of these really has got a lot of power. Got a ton of bass behind it. One of these really is a party amp. So you connect up a nice big set of speakers to this Nakamichi and then you crank that volume up. Trust me, you would be very happy, because this one really does pack a punch. And they make this in a 1, a 2 and a 3. Now the 3 seems to make a lot more money than the 2. That is why I'm going to go after the 2. And this is another one that in the buy it now, people seem to want a load of money for one of these, because they understand how good it is. But in the real world, in the auction, these don't make that much money, because people don't know what it is and people don't go after it. So if you want one of these, do not buy one of these in the buy it now. Get one in the auction. And I know with me, because I want one of these non-working, when one of these comes up in a non-working condition, I'm not going to pay much for one of these, because I don't think many people will go after it and want it. I might regret buying one of these not working, because one of these might be really complicated. I have never had one of these open, so one of these could be really complicated. It could be an absolute nightmare to repair. One of these could be one of them ones that just makes you want to scream and pull your hair out. But as I've got a repair channel, everything I buy from now on I'm trying to buy as a non-working. So hopefully when I get one of these, I'll get one without too much wrong with it. Because I think with one of these, if I buy one that's got loads of problems, then it might be a bit above my skill level. Right, so next up, I'm going back to my comfort zone, because I know I will have the skills to fix one of these. And it is a receiver from 1975. It's a realistic STA-20. And this one is an absolute powerhouse. It's a real monster, because according to Hi-Fi Engine, this one is 7 watts per channel. Now when I looked that up, I found that quite hard to believe, because the one we had years ago, it did seem a lot more powerful than 7 watts, but obviously it wasn't. Now I want one of these basically for the nostalgia, because I know this thing is not high end, But when I was a kid, we had one of these and I really loved it. We also had the STA-16, and what we used to do was buy amp speakers with them. So we'd put the 16 on the tweeters and this 20 on the bass drivers. So we'd like buy amp speakers with it. When we was kids, me and James had a load of fun with a pair of these. And when I said about getting one of these, I said I want the 16 or the 20. James said we need to get them both and put the whole system back together. So he has agreed that if I buy the 20, he will buy the 16. So between us, we are going to get a pair of these and put the old bi-amp system back together. Because when we was kids, we had a load of fun with a pair of these realistics. It was the first time that we learned that you could buy amp speakers, because we had some sets of by-wire speakers and we knew how that worked, but we didn't know you could run them with 2 amps. So when we first found that out, we used to do it with 2 of these realistics. And yeah, we did have a lot of fun doing it, so I am looking forward to getting a pair of these and doing it again. So next up, I'm going back to the 80s, and I do think this is another one that is a bit of a bargain, and it is a Yamaha AX400. Now it's from 1986 and it is 55 watts per channel, and this really is a decent sounding amplifier that doesn't seem to make much money. And I love this bargain stuff. When you can get something for not a lot of money and really get a decent sound out of it, yeah, I really like amplifiers like that. So I've had quite a lot of this Yamaha stuff over the years from the 80s. I really like it and I rate it. But when I was like looking through on the computer at prices of the ones I had wrote down, this one was just jumping out at me because it just looked like such a bargain. It really did, because this is a really good sounding little Yamaha, and this thing really looks like you could pick one up cheap. Now, I haven't repaired this exact model before, but I think I've done a 500 and a 700, so this one can't be as complicated as them bigger ones. So I think one of these will be within my skill set to repair. And as I'm trying to put a lot of budget-friendly bargain amplifiers together for my other channel, I just felt like I've got to buy one of these Yamahas because it really does look like good value for money, one of these. And them bigger ones now, like I was looking up them 700s because I'd love another one of them. The 700 is a fantastic amplifier, but everyone knows that, and the prices I was seeing them for was really a lot of money. And if I'm going to spend that much money on a Yamaha, I'd prefer a big silver-faced one from the 70s. Or something like this next one, because I do know I'm going to have to get my money out if I want one of these next ones. And it is a Sony STR 5800. Now this one is 55 watts per channel and it's from 1976. And this thing is an absolute beast from Sony. It's got a real top banana sound to it, this one. It can deliver a ton of detail, it's got a load of bass, and it's really powerful, this one. And I have repaired quite a few Sonys in this range, so there is nothing special going on inside them. They are quite easy to work on. And I do think this is one of my favourite vintage Sonys. So I had a few Sonys wrote down on my list, and when I'm on the computer looking up prices, I just kept looking at this one, and I was just thinking, I know it's a load of money, but if I'm going to buy a lovely old vintage Sony, this is the one that I want. If I buy any of them other ones, I'm just going to be disappointed, and I'm going to wish I got a bit more money out and bought the STR 5800, because I really do love this receiver. So next up, I'm jumping forward to the 80s again with another amplifier, and it's another one that I really like. I do think this one's a bit of a sleeper, and it is underrated because it should make more money than it does, because this one really is good, and it's a Denon PMA 720. Now it's from 1989, and it is 80 watts per channel. And like I said, it is underrated, this one, because it makes a little bit of money, but it doesn't make the kind of money like it should. So if you bought one of these, you really are getting something decent for not a lot of money. So you really are getting good bang for your buck with one of these. Now, you're not going to get hold of one of these dirt cheap. They do make a little bit of money, but you have to think about what you are getting for your money. You are getting an amplifier with a ton of power. This one delivers a ton of detail. It's got a really good top end, and it's got that lovely deep bass that just drives right through you. So it has got it all going on, this Denon. So for the price you can get one of these for, I do think it's a bit of a bargain. Because I know there's a lot of amplifiers and receivers out there that cost twice or even 3 times the price of this Denon, and they will not sound as good. This Denon really is a bit of quality for the money, because with me, that for the money really does come into it. Now, I'm not saying this Denon is the greatest bargain in the history of hi-fi. That is not what I'm saying. I am just saying, for its money, this Denon really is good, and you could go out and spend a hell of a lot more and get something that sounds a hell of a lot worse. So with this one, I have never repaired one before, and as this one's from the 1989, it could be a really complicated thing to fix. So with one of these, you'll have to wish me luck, and hopefully when I do get one, I will be able to bring it back to life. So next up, we're going early 80s this time with a little receiver, and this really is a good one. They're all good in today's video, they really are. So this one is a NAD 7020. It's from 1981, and it's 20 watts per channel. And this one is basically the famous NAD 3020 with a radio bunged in it. So I don't need to say no more about how good this thing's going to sound. If you know about the 3020, you just realise that this little receiver is going to be quality, because it is more or less the same as that legendary NAD. But I don't think a lot of people know that, so you can pick this one up for half the price, or even less than half the price of that 3020, when it is more or less the same. And I've repaired quite a few of these over the years, so I will be back in my comfort zone. I've had a lot of these little nads. I went through a stage where I just kept finding them in charity shops and cash converters and all sorts of places. I just kept getting hold of these little nads, and I did once buy one of these for a £5, because I went to this bloke's house to collect a like Marantz stack system with a turntable and that. And while I was there, the bloke went to me, "Would you be interested in this?" And he was standing there with one of these nads, and it was honestly the dirtiest receiver I have ever seen. It was all sticky and covered in fluff. You could just about make out what it was. It was in a right state. So I went to him, yeah, I would be interested in that if it's cheap. And he went, well, you can have it for a fiver. So obviously I took it home. And when I took the lid off of it, the whole thing inside was full of that sticky fluff and goo and hair. Oh, it had all sorts in it. It honestly was the dirtiest one I have ever seen. So I don't know what this bloke's house was like inside, but I'm just glad I never went in there. But once I'd cleaned this little nad up, it came up lovely and it worked perfectly. So it was a proper good little buy, that little nad off of this bloke. So I love this little nad, and at the moment it is kind of the first time in a lot of years that I haven't had one round me. So I do feel like I need another one of these little nads, because I do think it's a little bit of a bargain and it is a really good little vintage receiver. And the other reason why I really like this little receiver is that it has got the pre-out main-in coupler on the back, so you can use this one as a preamp or you can use it as a power amp. And the preamp side of this little nad really is top quality. So next up, this is the newest one in today's video, the most modern, and it is a preamp made by Musical Fidelity. Now this one's from 1998 and it is an E20 preamp. Now I love Musical Fidelity stuff. I've got more of it on my list. I think this is the first bit of it I've done. I really do love Musical Fidelity stuff. It sounds fantastic. And this preamp is no exception. This really is a good preamp. Well, for the money. I know I keep saying it, but this Musical Fidelity E20, it doesn't make really high prices. It is quite expensive, but if you want a preamp that's better than this one, you're really going to have to get your money out. And a lot of them that I was looking at, because I had quite a lot of preamps wrote down. So when I'm going through my list, a lot of them, I'm looking the price up and I'm thinking, that makes a lot more than that Musical Fidelity, and I don't think it's as good, so it got crossed off. So this one kind of stayed on the list because I think this is the best sounding preamp that you can get for your money, well, out of the ones I have had before. And I do think with a lot of this Musical Fidelity stuff, you can get it for a decent price because a lot of people sort of avoid it because it has got a bit of a reputation for being very temperamental and going wrong. So I think that keeps the price down on this Musical Fidelity stuff. If it was more reliable, it would be really expensive. But I did have one of these E20 preamps for years and I did really use it a lot. I loved it and I never had no trouble with it whatsoever. It never went wrong. But I have had some Musical Fidelity power amps. I've had quite a few of them. I had a set of monoblock ones. They was like silver, really low profile. And them things sounded fantastic, but when you used to run them, they got so hot you couldn't even touch them. And them things, they did go wrong a few times, but I've never had no problem with one of these preamps. And I have looked on the computer for one of these, and although I did find a few on there, they was all working. So that is always a good sign that stuff is reliable. But I want one of these non-working so I can bring it back to life. So I will have to hunt one down. Now I'm not sure how difficult one of these is going to be to fix. It might be really complicated, but I'm up for the challenge with one of these because I really want one, and I really do think that for the money, one of these Musical Fidelity preamps really is a quality preamp. and it really is. I know I always say that, but one of these, it's just got a fantastic sound to it. You put it on the right power amp, this thing is something very special for the money. Right, so I'm going to make this one the last one in today's video. And it's one that I love, this one, because I had one of these when I was a kid and I really, really did love it. It's a fantastic old amplifier from 1978. It is 35 watts per channel and it is a Technics SU7100. Now, when I was a kid, someone gave me one of these, and it really did sound so much better than anything else I had at the time. Now, they do this one, the 7100. They do a 7200, which looks more or less the same, and then they do a 7300. I would love to get one of them 7300s because they look so good with them bouncing VU meters on the front. But because I had this one as a kid, I just had to go for the SU7100. And it really is a good sounding amplifier, this one. It's a bit of class from Technics, and again, this is one that doesn't really make that much money. If this had a Sansui badge on it or a Pioneer badge on it, it would make a hell of a lot more. But it doesn't. It's got Technics wrote on it, and all the vintage Technics stuff really does seem to be good value for money. You really do get something top quality for not a lot of money with this vintage Technics gear. It's easy to fix. I've been inside loads of this Technics gear, so I know if I get one of these, I will be able to get it working again. They are not very complicated. They are quite easy to work on. And once I track down and buy a non-working 7100, I might start saving up so I can treat myself and get the 7300. So thank you for watching, and I shall see you next time.